Welcome to TV Plus Talk. I'm Chuck Joyner, and she is Charlotte Henry. Charlotte, it's a
Hello.
pleasure as always.
So pleased to be back with you. We went from thinking we'd have a quiet August with not that many stories to discuss, with a couple of really quite big stories to discuss, right?
It seems like that's also in the larger tech world and also Apple TV Plus, Charlotte. August is
Yep.
usually kind of a quiet time, building up to all the fall announcements, but it's been a hot topic kind of time.
Yeah, I mean, every time you and I are like, oh, we'll make a show. There'll be a couple of things to talk about. We'll have fun. And then suddenly we've got like at least 3 major stories to discuss. And there's actually, before we start, there's a couple of things I want to bring up. And one thing I really want to talk to you about is, do you remember last week we were talking about Son Heung-min, one of my favourite footballers, moved to the MLS, which means he will be available to buy through Apple TV. You'll be able to see him through Apple TV.
I remember.
I'm still in mourning, but we'll move forward on that. If you recall, I tried to explain what a big deal he is. And we've started to see that in real life. And also, we've seen this in terms of shopping as well. Apparently, the Son Heung-min LAFC shirt has outsold Lionel Messi's Miami shirt and LeBron James.
I'm not a huge fan of any of the above. But I obviously know the names, and it is a bit surprising and I don't know if this is because what you call football, we call soccer, has become so much more of a global force.
It's that, but also it's him as an individual, as a particular individual. He is the icon of Korean sport, and obviously LA has a very big Korean community. He's a hugely popular figure, and so he is outsold, as I say, LeBron James, Steph Curry, all of this. And now I bring this up on this show, not just so I get to talk about Son Heung-min again, but because it tells us something for the MLS on Apple TV, right? I joked with you, oh yeah, maybe I will. I was only half joking. Oh yeah, maybe I will take out an MLS season pass just so I can watch him. Now, if people are buying the shirt, you think they're not sending their money to Apple as well to be able to watch?
That's a very, very, very fair point. Yes.
Right?
Yes. So this looks like a sports relationship for Apple that is flourishing and is, to your point, is probably paying dividends in the form of subscriptions.
I would think so. And I don't know, I've not heard that Sony has the similar deal that Lionel Messi had. If you remember when Messi went over to the MLS, it was such a big deal that Apple made an arrangement with him that he got a cut of all the season pass subscriptions. Apple was effectively paying part of it to Lionel Messi. I don't know if it's the same case here, but either way, I suspect Apple is getting some of the trickle-down benefit.
I agree. And I think it's interesting that from a business standpoint, that they are essentially investing in the popularity of these players and investing in the popularity of the sport, as opposed to just sitting back and saying, oh, okay, sport, you have to generate the audience and the excitement, and then we will talk to you about what we're going to pay to cover you.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. Apple, it was significant, right? The deal was for 10 years, if you remember, which is a pretty significant deal in sports broadcast. We don't see much for that long, and it's particularly significant for not a hugely popular sport in the US. And not a hugely popular league globally. So it was a big investment in both time and money from Apple. And they've continually needed a superstar to hang off it. So at first it had Messi, and now it's got Son Heung-min. And I think that's really interesting. And the sale of the jerseys just rather underlines what a big deal that is more in the whole broader MLS ecosystem, of which Apple is now a key part.
Charlotte, I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole too far, but I think you bring up an interesting point that a lot of us, and I raise my hand and say I'm one of them, don't always appreciate the difference in the leagues Here in the U.S., we maybe appreciate what we call football, American football. The difference between the different conferences and maybe some of the other leagues out there. But I don't know that we appreciate the difference in the leagues that you all have, or that football/soccer has. And so you bring up that he is playing in a, if I'm understanding correctly, a relatively minor league, or less popular league. That's a better phrase, probably.
Sure.
And yet he has this incredible popularity and is selling all these jerseys.
Right, exactly. And beyond that, that is, I think, about a benefit to Apple and the Apple TV ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm sure it is manifesting in subscriptions.
Yeah. And I mean, if the Messi deal had not worked out, this deal would not have happened, whatever the deal is. So,
potential, that's interesting.
I feel like that there is some payoff. There has to be some payoff here. If you have one player who migrates to the US, and Apple TV has the rights to those games or matches. Sorry, I'm probably using the wrong phrases for that sport.
No. I would love to see. I would love to know some more of the specifics of the detail. Maybe some of that will come out, right?
We'll see. You know how tight-lipped Apple is about everything. It would almost have to be up to him to release it.
Yeah, be interesting. Yeah. Just continuing on the sort of Apple-y sport theme, we've got Apple F1, the movie. You and I have talked about the significance of it being in cinemas. It's now out. You can buy it as a digital purchase. That's a collaboration with Warner Brothers, but it is, since August the 22nd, it has been available to buy and to watch for yourself at home, which is the next step. But what that means, of course, is still not part of Apple TV Plus.
Not yet. It'll get there.
Yeah.
It'll get there.
Oh, for sure. We know that it's going to be there, but it's interesting how it's going through these tiers, with the last one being Apple's own streaming service.
Yeah. Well, listen, they're going to milk it for all they can, and that's as it should be. I'm embarrassed to say that,
don't come cheap.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I did not get to see it in the theater. The closest IMAX theater to me was just an unrealistic drive. So this is on my list to watch on my home theater system, which, well, it won't rival an in-theater experience. It'll be, better than just watching it on my iPad. So I'm very much looking forward to it. But there's no denying. I mean, it seemed like over on my live show, every week we were saying, it's crossed this milestone in global take, and it's crossing that milestone in global take, and it just keeps, it keeps creeping up. I just heard this morning.
Well, I've got a number for you if you want.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Apparently, according to the press release announcing it being available for digital purchase, it is heading up towards $600 million at the global box office, which makes it Brad Pitt's highest grossing feature film to date.
And I just heard this morning on Ken Ray's show that Superman was number one for the summer, and F1 was a very close number two.
That's huge for Apple. That really is a huge moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it feels like, they're making some really good, solid decisions here on what to back. And like every one of these, they make choices, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, but this has been, without doubt, a significant win and a significant sort of move towards being a media production company as well.
Agreed. But we do have an Apple Sports situation that maybe is not working out.
We're going to jump to that, are we? Let's do it.
Well, there's a report out there that Apple is ending its relationship with Major League Baseball, or at least the Friday night version of Major League Baseball. Now, from what we could see, there's only one sports reporter that is making this really all paths lead back to that report. So we don't have this absolutely confirmed as we record this, but
yes,
it seems to be something that everyone has jumped on and saying, yeah, it's very likely.
Yeah, there's a lot that's swirling around. There's the original report from a Yahoo News reporter that you highlight. I'm seeing a story on sportspro.com that it's talking about it might, like Apple might lose it because there's a whole thing going on with with NBC. We don't have MSNBC anymore, do we? And ESPN. So there's a bit going on in that space, and it'll be one to watch. We don't have anything confirmed yet. We do have to say that. Apple, ESPN has a big deal already. So yeah, there is a fair bit going on. So we'll have to see how it goes. We're not sure. Apple has a 7-year deal, right? That 7-year deal started in 2022. It's not like it's a deal that ends in 2025 and Apple doesn't want to renew it. Like, it's not straightforward if this is the case.
No, you're right. You're right. It also, and this is rampant speculation on my part. All right, so let's just say,
please.
That right
I love it.
But I have seen a number of articles recently talking about, and I've heard some friends talking about it, the fragmentation of sports coverage.
How many times have I moaned about it to you?
Well, yeah, exactly. That, and more people are starting to recognize it, that it's getting harder and harder to go to one place and see the majority of your favorite sport. And it makes me wonder that Apple has decided not to play in this field of fragmentation, or is the Major League Baseball trying to buy its way out of the contract with Apple, since, as you pointed out, it's got a bigger deal with ESPN. So
yeah,
is somebody trying to consolidate it? Yeah.
Entirely possible, entirely plausible. Remember, ESPN has just launched out its new streaming service as well, its new direct-to-consumer product. So we don't know if it's trying to get more into that as well. We don't know where NBC fits into all of this. Like, this is quite an interesting situation to watch. Obviously, this is the type of story I love and spend a lot of time reporting. So I'll keep an eye on it for you, Chuck.
Yeah, please do, Charlotte, because I know you pay a lot more attention to it than I do. I'm much more of a casual sports watcher, if I go that far. Golf is another thing, but the rest of the sports.
I was going to say, what?
Yeah, but the rest
I didn't
of the
notice that when I was texting you after every hole at the Masters, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but the rest of the sports, I do think that it's a problem, and we're watching American football sort of go through part of this early phase where, on Christmas Day, one service gets it, and on Thanksgiving another service gets it, and then somebody else does broadcast rights, and it's all.
And then one day in the playoff, Peacock gets it.
Right, and then Thursday nights, Amazon has has Thursday night football. So it's a crazy world out there. That if you're a real fan of one of these sports, or frankly, if you're just trying to watch your favorite team, you may have to subscribe to 4 or 5 different services and have a broadcast subscription to be able to keep up.
Guess what, Chuck? There's a whole chapter in my book about this.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. In Streaming Wars, out on October 3rd in the UK, 28th in the US, there's a whole chapter about sports streaming, which deals with this issue of fragmentation. There you go.
I honestly, folks, that was not a setup. That was genuine, just conversation between Charlotte and I. So I'm delighted to hear that. I look forward to it.
It wasn't a setup by you.
Well, all right. Now I'm the stooge. Thanks a lot.
But it's a hugely interesting space. It's a hugely interesting story that we'll have to keep our eyes and ears on. I think it would be a bit of a setback to Apple, actually, if it lost the baseball. Not that it's done so well. And there's been some quite controversial moments. Do you remember when you and I talked about Aaron Judge's record-breaking home run and how people were really worried it was going to happen on Apple TV, not on their their usual broadcaster? In the case of the Yankees, it would be Yes Network with the commentators that they like. So there's been a few moments with Apple TV. Apple refused to give up that game, by the way. So it's sort of tried to plant its flag in the baseball, in baseball. But I'd be surprised if Apple went out without a fight, unless, of course, it feels like it's just not getting its return. Because it doesn't charge. It's never charged extra for baseball. Yes. You just get it. It's sort of free.
Yeah, and maybe Apple was expecting a little bit more of a favored nation status because of that, because they were trying to draw people into their service and deliver
or to make a lot of money
customers.
through the advertising.
Well, yeah, there's that too. So
I always get confused, but I don't even think you need a TV Plus subscription to watch the baseball.
I can't confirm or deny that. I don't know.
I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure you just get it within the app. Anyway, it will be interesting to see how that story plays out, as I say. Do you know what else is not interesting, though, Chuck?
What's not interesting, Charlotte? No, what?
Well, it is interesting, but I'm cross about it.
Okay.
They're putting the price up again of TV Plus.
Yeah, I saw that. And I feel like
let's break this down.
Yeah, I'll let you break it down first because I have my thoughts.
Break it down and then we'll do the TED Talk. So in the UK, it's going up by £1 to £9.99 a month, £9.99 sterling a month, but the annual price will stay the same at £89 a year. Basically, they want you to buy the annual subscription, obviously. In the US, it's going up from $9.99 to $12.99, which is, that's sort of excuse my maths, that's about a 25% increase, isn't it, suddenly?
Yep.
That's quite a big increase to me.
Well, it is. What I think is extra interesting about this, though, is that's if you are just talking about the Apple TV Plus service. If you are and to your point, you can also save some money if you subscribe long term. But also, if you are an Apple One bundle subscriber, the price doesn't change. So in effect,
that was my question to you. That's what I wanted to know because I am an Apple One subscriber. I subscribe to the top tier of Apple One because I find all the services useful. Particularly what I wanted in that bundle was Apple News Plus.
Right.
Because that actively saves me money.
Right.
So I was worried, therefore, I was going to get a note saying that your Apple One bundle is going up again. So it's very interesting to know that it isn't.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. And so another article I read that was not related to this, in fact, I believe I read it before the announcement, was the amount of money that churning subscriptions costs these companies. That it's not just a matter of, they're not getting Charlotte's money anymore for a couple months. It must actively cost them money to, I guess, do the bookkeeping or whatever to make sure that you don't get something you're not paying for. And so everybody seems to be fighting that churn in different ways. This may be Apple's way of doing it, and also enhancing the value of some of their other services into one bundle so that you can maybe look at that bundle and say, hey, this is even a better value than me trying to buy separate services.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said there. I think that's entirely right. And it's, again, having done a lot of research into streaming for my book, churn is the thing that these companies cannot stand. And, those who are younger than you and I are particularly good at bouncing out of services each month. So, yeah, they want to watch the end of Stranger Things, but after Stranger Things done, cancel the Netflix subscription. And so the companies are really acutely aware of this. The question when I was reading this story and potentially getting irritated, I was going to have to pay more. Thank you for dissipating that anger, Chuck. Is every time there's a price rise, subscribers have to ask the question, is it worth the price still? That is always a question. You go, okay, it's another £1, or in the case in America, another $3. People then once you do that, you don't think, you get a note, it reminds you of your subscription, it reminds you of the price, and you have to think again whether or not you want to keep that service. So my question to you, Jack, and I think I know the answer to this, is: do you consider Apple TV Plus worth $12.99 a month?
Yes, because of the quality of service. Excuse me, the quality of stories, and
Yes.
and frankly, the quantity of things that I'm really interested in. That some of them are absolute. I want to watch that. Others, and we've talked about some of them here on the show. Others I've been drug into, and ended up being very happy I was drug in because they were so good. And
You're welcome.
I mean, yes, really. You've done it to me. A few other people have done it too. I guess my thing always is, and this would be difficult to quantify for some people, and especially if you have a family, then it gets really complex. But if I do a rough calculation of, how many hours of content do I get in a month for an Apple TV subscription that I'm using, forget availability, just that I actually watch, the number comes up pretty good. If I go to some other services and say, well, you just picked out Stranger Things, so I believe that's Netflix. Okay, if I'm really into Stranger Things, then how many episodes am I going to get? How many dollars per hour am I going to spend on that? And am I watching anything else on Netflix? Because the one thing you said, and I think you're right, younger people are paying more attention to this, but I've gotten pretty good myself at saying, I don't.
But it's because you're a very young man.
Well, thank you, and I think we need to talk to your eye doctor. But that's the way I do it. I want to get the value out of something, and so maybe I can wait a couple weeks, a couple months to watch a series until it's all released on that service, and then I'll jump back in, watch it, jump back out, and so those are listen. This is the world we're kind of in, and the cable companies have made it this way because they kept trying to sell us bundles of things we didn't want and charge more money.
Yeah. Now
we're fighting back again because they're still trying to do it in a different way. This is the way we fight back.
Chuck's leading a revolution. That's not where I thought this show was going to go, but I'm here for it. I'm very up for it.
Well, I mean, look, it'd be great if you had all the money in the world, but unfortunately we don't, nor do we have all the time in the world to watch.
Right. It's worth noting that you can get discounts. Apple are offsetting some of this with, there are some discounts available, maybe 3 months at a lower cost or whatever. So it is worth looking out for that if you're starting up and, a new subscription or something. I do think, though, Apple may find a problem here because I think that not enough people know about TV Plus, not enough people value TV Plus in the way that you or I do. I think what might happen is they keep people because they're pushing people towards Apple One. I suspect there are a bunch of people that have Apple One because they want the storage or whatever, and that's fine. And I happen to think Apple One is a pretty good value bundle, actually. But I think you're going to get people questioning whether £10, $13 is the right amount for TV Plus. I think if I asked a lot of people, they would say, don't know many programs on TV Plus, don't want to pay for another service. It's gone up too much. Think about how cheap Apple TV Plus was when it launched. What was it, $4.99?
So, yeah.
Something like that. And basically for a year, no one paid for it anyway. So it's gone from free for most people to £10 or $13. That's in 6 years. It's not an insignificant hike.
It's not, but think about when Apple TV Plus came out, it was almost an experiment. And the number, first of all, the number of shows was relatively low, and the number of shows that had been designated as hits was even lower. And then momentum started to build, and I'm not about to try to figure out which one was the one that did it, but certainly Ted Lasso. was up there. But since then, we have major hit after major hit. We have something that you pay a lot more attention to than I do, and that is all the awards. So Apple's getting an amazing amount of publicity and recognition, maybe even just flat out awareness of the services from those awards. And that means that there's stuff on there that's worth watching. And so, again, if it's the right value for you, great. But I have a lot less problem paying for Apple TV Plus at the price they are selling it for than I do for Netflix. Netflix has a huge back catalog. I don't care.
Oh, look, it's all personal preference. Of course it is. And my guess is your personal preference is in the minority. My guess is people will pay for Netflix before they ever even think about paying for TV Plus. I'm not saying that's a good decision. I'm not saying that people aren't missing out on great programming. They are. They really, really are. But I suspect if you did some polling or field research, that is the way it would go. And look, you mentioned how tight-lipped Apple are about everything, and you're certainly right. But we don't know any numbers for TV Plus. And we both have followed Apple long enough to know if they were big, we'd know those numbers, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
if they
would we? Because they don't disclose.
But they show off when it's good.
Well, they show off, but they don't necessarily disclose numbers, even on the earnings calls. They disclose what they have to.
Very happy. Yeah, they would show off if that number was big enough. And so I think we can conclude that it's one of the lower valued streamers by users. And therefore, I think a price hike is a risk. And let's be blunt about it. Does Apple has enough capacity, I'm sure, to keep that price down, surely. Like, it can soak up some of this, surely. Does it need to raise the price?
Somewhere, somebody has done the algorithms to say, if we raise it by this much, we're going to lose this many people. Most likely, we're going to lose this many people. And is the bottom line better? Are we losing? Are we? So this was not, especially a price increase of that amount, was not done lightly. It was done, with a lot of research and a lot of thinking. But I also,
100%.
And unfortunately, Charlotte, there's the other school of thinking that says that if you give things away too cheaply or just give them away, that people don't value them. And so,
absolutely,
are we in now a situation where Apple wants to move into the same category as the Disneys, as the Netflix, as the the Amazon Prime?
Prime.
Now, I mean, it feels like the pricing is now getting into that category. Are they confident that they are now that kind of player? How many times have we talked about the lack of publicity that they do for some of the shows that we think are the best? So,
yeah. Well, it's interesting you mentioned Disney. Should we do a price comparison? And I always think it's interesting to do a price comparison with Disney Plus because the two services launched at the same time, right? So I always think there's value in doing that. So Disney standards with ads plan costs $4.99 a month. This is all in pound sterling. Tell me if it differs greatly in US dollars. Standard plan costs $8.99 a month or $89.90 a year, $90. There's a premium plan that's $12.99 or $129 £1.90. So, and that gives you 4K and all of that stuff. So they're kind of in the same ballpark. You can get a version of Disney Plus much cheaper, the standards with ads version, but at the higher end, there's not a massive difference, is there? Unless I'm missing something.
No, I don't believe there is. And you bring up, I think, a really interesting point that may be lost on folks, and that is that once again, Apple targets a premium audience. They aren't playing this game of, well, I can get Apple TV for half as much if I watch their ads. So once again, Apple takes that position that, we're not going to ask you to endure that. We're going to give you the 4K, so if you want to go somewhere else, you're going to have to, ramp up to that tier. So your point is excellent that at the top tier where Apple likes to play, the numbers aren't that much different.
Yeah, and when you said, "Oh, Apple wants to be playing with, be in the same ballpark as," I thought you were going to say HBO Max. I thought you were going to say that it wants to be a high-end product at a higher end price, and I think that may be where we're getting to on it.
I would agree. I'm
not sure it's a good strategy, but I think that might be where we're heading.
Yeah, and I can't say right now. I'm not sure that I can't think of an HBO Max series that I'm really anxious to watch. Now, maybe I'm paying more attention to Apple TV Plus, but I don't remember anything that's coming out. And you'll probably name 5 of them because you're much more in touch with this. But so it seems like a no-brainer for me, and especially with the Apple One bundle, to pay attention to Apple TV Plus. The rest, not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of the Apple One bundle. As I said, I use the top tier one. But I suspect for normal folk, they don't know. There's not enough must-watch shows on TV Plus. As I say, they are missing out on some good stuff, but I suspect there's not enough, and I'm not sure a price hike is going to be the thing that gets people watching.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no question. I mean, that is a definite detriment. So what I hope to see Apple do, and I'm sure you do too, is ramp up the publicity a little bit.
We've said it ever since we started this show. I think we should probably give up wondering about that. But yeah, it's going to be this is, again, I mean, there's so many interesting things to watch that are going on in the TV Plus space, and its ability to raise the price and maintain levels is really going to, the subscription levels is going to be something that is I think the key to the next phase of Apple TV Plus. Not least because they seem to be, and they're bundling on the extras. We've talked already about, we talked about MLS season pass. I suspect we'll see more things like that. So, I think it's quite a key moment for TV Plus now that I think about it on the back of this price rise. Almost lucky that we have a podcast to cover it all, isn't it, Charles?
We planned it this way, right?
Absolutely. Lots of stuff coming out this week before we wrap up. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Well, Invasion season 3 is already out. I think you were excited in that one, weren't you? Yeah.
Yes.
Cropped and Shape Island, which I think is a kids program, they're coming out on Friday, August 29th. And then in September, mid-September, we've got the return of the morning show and then Slow Horses season 5. I think morning show season 4 will be another big moment. Look, they've had for August, which is normally quite quiet. Over the summer, there's been quite a lot of stuff come out on TV Plus. So, anything you're particularly keen to dive into?
Well, Invasion, of course, as you said. I'm looking forward to the return of the morning show, a show that I never intended to watch more than one episode of, and now we're into the 4th season, and I'm really looking forward to it.
You're welcome.
Foundation, yes, Foundation is still going on. That's it. When I stop and think about how many great shows that I am either watching or looking forward to watching, Apple TV Plus is a great value.
I'm working my way through the show that you recommended to me, which we discussed last week in more depth. So go back and listen to that, which is Prime Target. I hope people go back and listen to them, watch the show that we discussed that in more details. And I still need to get back into Side Quest. I need to watch the revamped final episode of Mythic Quest and watch Side Quest. Maybe I'll watch Side Quest and Mythic Quest, and we can discuss those in more depth next show. Well, as we said, for a month that's meant to be quiet, the 2 shows we've done, we've plowed through an awful lot, haven't we? We
have, and that I think we can expect more of the same. Whether it's positive or negative, there's always going to be something happening.
So where can we keep up with you, Chuck, while all that takes place?
You can find me over at macvoices.com. That's where I have a lot of interesting interviews with a lot of tech folks. We do a live show Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. And you can find me on the socials, pretty much all of them, as at Chuck Joyner. Charlotte, where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm at Charlotte A. Henry across most of socials, though I think my YouTube channel is Charlotte Henry. Head over to theedition.net for more from the crossover of culture, media, and sport, which covers a lot of streaming stuff, and that's at theedition.net. Check out the website. I'd love you to subscribe to the newsletter as well, which is newsletter.theedition.net, and you get something 2-3 times a week. So I'd love to see you there as well. And Chuck, I'll see you in the next episode.
That sounds good, Charlotte. Folks, thanks for watching.